not allow citizens like me to pull over on the side of the road and take pictures and videos from afar of what's going on. I can't fly my drone over there and watch the hillside for future strikes causing fires, or looking down and seeing what FEMA's doing.
This one's got me shaking in my boots slightly. Some of the images that you will see on this video have been ripped down from other platforms. I was privy to get some of this information from some people that influence me, my influencers, and some of you might know where I got some of these as well. However, the reason it's got me shaking in my boots is not is because they can. I've never had a YouTube strike, but I want the truth to go out, and so I'm kind of at odds with that in my brain and in my heart. It seems like every other video that I put out, my heart sinks. And anyway, so let me caution you. Here's a trigger warning, if that's what you want to call it. Be advised that some of this is very, I wouldn't say graphic. It's not anything that you're going to watch. The visuals will invoke in you anger and urgency. Like, what do we do from here? What do we do? I'm thinking ever since September 11th. It's funny how you have to be careful. We had December 7th. That was a date. September 11th has a different feeling when you say that, right? It gives you a different feeling. But what we're facing today, it's unraveling. And I think the powers that be know it's unraveling.
Now you can't get in there. Now it's a war zone. Now it's like checkpoints and Checkpoint Charlie and guards and FBI and ATF and Army. These people have not been able to go back to their homes to get the contents of their safe. And I've heard rumors about who is rummaging through that. Again, I'm not here to spread rumors, but I'm just telling you. To not allow homeowners to go into and get their stuff is weird. To not allow press to go in there to get their stuff doesn't make sense. To not allow citizens like me to pull over on the side of the road and take pictures and videos from afar of what's going on. I can't fly my drone over there and watch the hillside for future strikes causing fires, or looking down and seeing what FEMA's doing. To block everybody out is against our constitutional rights.
When you watch that, you wonder, okay, where do we go from here? And you keep asking yourself that over and over and over again. Where do we go from here? What do we do? Do we lay down? Do we go about our daily lives like this is 1955? Like suburbia is just beginning? As you get older, you realize that there was never really a time to rest, was there? There really was no time of peace. My cousin likes to say we were lied to over and over again. Well, who lied to us? I'll tell you exactly who lied to us. It wasn't the CIA. It wasn't the NSA. It wasn't the mainstream news. It wasn't Walter Cronkite back in the old days. It wasn't War of the Worlds, Orson Welles, or H.G. Wells. It wasn't Franklin D. Roosevelt. It wasn't Bill Clinton. It started behind the scenes. The liar from the beginning was the adversary, Lucifer. Then he began to recruit henchmen. But anyway, that's where it began. So if I could answer my cousin's question this way, I would say we've been lied to, yes, but we've been lied to all along from the premortal life before we came to earth, from the adversary, from Lucifer, the light bearer.
This is probably one of the most egregious things that they could do post-fire. Let me ask you a question. Would you rather have glue or ash go into the ocean. Here, just watch.
Looking at options of how to mitigate ongoing discharges to the ocean, we've decided to apply a soil tackifier, which is, we've chosen a product that is non-toxic, biodegradable, marine safe.
Okay, here we are on vinyl acetate. When you go down to the toxicity, one test in 2009 done by the Canadians that says it's safe, but then if you look here, it says in the context of large-scale release into environment, it is classified as extremely hazardous.
Okay, read it for yourself. Google it for yourself. Check out for yourself. Vinyl acetate, copolymer. But really it boils down to a common sense question. Would you rather have glue going into the ocean or would you rather have ash? And two, why are they really doing that? What's the real purpose? Some saying it's so they can lower the value, make it unusable, and come in and swoop it up, which is part.
So I agree with him. Why not ash? Why goop? Why goopy stuff that we know very little about? And I agree. It could be to devalue the property. It could be they're trying to find ways. That's why they're not letting people in their houses. They're trying to find ways to get people to move on with their lives. Get out of here. Well, Oprah, if you want to do that, give them a bunch of money and tell them to move to Wisconsin. I've wondered about something. I think that maybe you have also. If these people are implicated in this, if they are guilty of nefarious acts, if they are guilty of usurping the private citizens of Lahaina, if they are guilty of of instigating these fires to get them off the land, it's all fitting together like a perfect book of evidences, just filed together consecutively and very clear to look at. If they are guilty, I'm seriously doubting that they are saying to themselves, oh, this is just going to be one of those other things that everybody thinks is a conspiracy theory, and it'll move on and go on. I think you can only do this so long. And what was the biggest and the hugest thing that happened to us 23 years ago, 22 years ago, 23 years ago was the attack in New York. And what did we do? We rose up like patriots because that was the thing to do. We didn't know what was going on. The Middle East was a new thing. We thought that they were guilty of sin because our Republican president told us they were, and we're going to listen to him because he's a conservative, and we're going to rally around the flag. And guess what? People that weren't Bush supporters began to support him and support the cause. Well, we've come a long way, haven't we, folks? We've come a long way, and we don't think like that anymore. We're not buying into their game anymore, if this is what really happened. We've been educated. So what? Thank God for YouTube, right? Because most of our education came from social media, from videos. Like when Alex Jones would make videos and put them out, and others like him, and we'd listen to George Norrie or Art Bell, and some of the conspiracy theorists, even Cleon Skousen and Joel Skousen. I froze up there. Thank God for them, but that was a small group. Well, when social media came around, and they don't seem to like what we're doing, do they? I don't know. Did they want this to be leaked? Or are we giving Satan too much credit? Do we think he just thinks 10, 20 things ahead? No, because he's going to end up in the pit.
The bottomless pit.
The University of Hawaii got this on satellite. This is a laser over Maui. And apparently it was ripped down from the internet, but I got a hold of it. I don't know if it has, but the guy that I got it from said it's been ripped down. It was a green laser, actually, is what the satellite spotted. And it was hovering over Hawaii for 10 minutes. Some are saying that it could, well, you guess. What do you think some people are saying about that? What do you think sources are saying about that? And I don't know if these sources are reliable. They're saying that it was mapping out the boundaries and the places to zap, I guess, or maybe where not to burn.
But why shouldn't you have a conspiracy theory when they're not telling you anything and they're purposely lying to cover for...
I also don't know why that's a conspiracy theory when you're just positing possibilities. Meaning, like, it's not impossible, and you're not saying that it actually... Well, Oprah, I feel like, has better things. I mean, she does own a space laser, so, I mean, theoretically, you could... But the
That is hilarious. That is so funny. I'll tell you what I think about Ben Shapiro, and I didn't used to think about him this way, but I do now.
You can certainly see why people would conclude, something's a little screwy here. Is there something more going on?
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm always going to say this. A, to protect my butt, and B, because it does make sense. No one is guilty. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But will there ever come a time that anybody anywhere at the top is ever proven guilty and convicted? No, we learned that with past administrations of higher offices, right? And even today with our executive branch. So everyone has their different ideas and theories about what happened, okay?
We basically want accountability of people who are responsible for this, and they should be held liable for this. People should be held liable for this because this is gross negligence. We want accountability of people, that electric company, the police. Why did the police block people from coming and exiting? The police was blocking the road. Hundreds of people were backed up there with people in their cars, and a lot of people lost their lives. The police officer that was over there, he should be investigated. It needs to be investigated by a third party that is not associated with the government. People in Lahaina are angry. We don't trust the government because of what has happened. I'm an attorney, and I question, there's so many things that are questionable that has happened here. We still don't trust the government. We're wondering what's on those documents for FEMA. I don't know what's on the documents myself. And we're afraid to sign documents because right after that, the governor says, I'm going to take the land. The state wants to purchase all this land. Who the hell does he think that he should get this land? This land belongs to the people already.
Okay.
The government is liable for this, grossly negligent, at least if not criminally negligent. They should clean up all that land, restore that land to the people who own that because they failed here. They failed. The government failed.
If I were Oprah, I would move to Wisconsin and be a cheesehead. Why? Because it's not Hawaii. That's why. And the residents don't want them there. The people of Maui don't want Oprah there. I don't know how they felt about her before this, but they definitely do not want her there. No.
That will put money directly in the hands of
People are mad at Oprah and The Rock, as more than 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Looking at the fund organization it's called Entertainment Industry, with their audit for last year, can see all the different costs that are taken from donations, including salaries, advertisement, rent, bonuses, and more of around 400 million absorbing most of the donations. And the CEO salary is around 700,000 to $1 million according to Salary.com. This is why many people have shared their frustration online that a billionaire and multimillionaire are asking for donations, and most of donations will go to overhead costs. I don't know, what do you think about this? Would you donate to them or prefer to donate directly to the families?
How's it feel to be here, ma'am?
Well, it's a little overwhelming, you know.
I want you guys not to forget something. Even bad guys are children of our Heavenly Father. I know that's not a popular thing to say right now, especially when you're watching all this, but they are. What if, because I remember I was asking, I think it was the last video or the video before, what would a 70-year-old, because I think she's in her 70s or early 70s, I don't know, but I know she's 70 or above. What would, I asked, what is an older person, or someone in their 70s, why would they want to do this? They have maybe 2 decades left on the earth. And I said, unless they're waiting for that scientist that's going to invent everlasting life, eternal life, immortality, which they're not going to get. Jesus Christ is going to bring the resurrection. But, so that's the only thing I could think of. But here's the other flip side to that. What if she doesn't want to do any of this? What if What if her and Mitch McConnell, maybe he wants to leave. Maybe he wants to go rest. He's like, I had a stroke. I want to retire right now. Because most elderly people, they want to relax. They want to, even older evil people want to retire, relax. They got a lot of money. They want to go to Florida or Hawaii, whatever. They want to just chill, right? But Mitch McConnell, they're still propping him up. Is it because he owes them debts? Is he still paying his dues for whatever GS did for him to get him, or other fake philanthropists that maybe got him in that position, and he's not done paying his debt to the covert combos? The same with the Big O. What if she's still paying her debt to the covert combos? I don't know. But remember that even The Rock, they're still children of God. So remember, they're innocent until proven guilty. That's all I'm trying to say. And they're evil. But we're going to be teaching them in the spirit world, in spirit prison. We're going to be teaching them the gospel. And we're going to be like, we told you to stop. We told you to stop, Oprah. Rock, we thought you were a member of the church. Didn't you used to wear garments? I don't know if he was a member of the church. But we told you all to stop, that it wasn't good for you. It's not good for business. I mean, if I was a celebrity, I think I would want to be liked, not just by people, but also by my maker. Lahaina Fire now 100% contained, but not yet extinguished.
Almost 4 weeks since the Maui fires broke out, and firefighters are slowly making progress.
It's already been a month since the Lahaina Fire. 1 month. Where are the children? Where's the DNA results from Chief Pelletier, where he promised to get the results of those? There's been no real updates on the death toll or if the children are missing. People aren't getting answers to anything, like absolutely nothing. And the only thing that these movie stars want to talk about is raising money, like doing a fake fundraiser. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. It's the more you think about it. Look, we give them the benefit of the doubt, and then we go back to quacking like a duck, looks like a duck, all that crap. Their numbers are way off. Like, they don't even know if there's 150 people dead or 500 dead. It's anywhere from like 100 to 500. And no, depending on what news outlet you're watching or what official, whoever's in front of the camera or whatever podcast they're on, you're getting different numbers from different people. The Lahaina police, like Chief Pelletier, he's not saying anything lately. Where's the mayor? Where's Pelletier? Where's the governor?
She and another sister on the mainland did DNA swabs weeks ago. She filed a missing persons report with police too. She's been asking for 10 days if her DNA matches any of the 115 remains.
We've never got that information.
So yeah, we're not getting real answers about how many children are missing, how many are actually deceased. The government's bringing that number down on us all the time. The local government, the federal government, and we know, and everyone else knows, even neighboring communities, officials know from other places that there are over 2,000 children missing, maybe even more. We don't know what happened to them.
33, we're tracking new developments regarding West Maui schools. Now, here are the latest stats from the Department of Education. Before the fire, there were 3,001 students enrolled in that area. Since then, 778 have re-enrolled in other schools. 874 have signed up for distance learning. 129 are now enrolled in charter or independent schools. 12 have withdrawn. Now, that leaves about 1,200 students that the DOE is actively trying to contact.
Nick Sorter said, at a minimum, I believe officials are definitely hiding the real numbers, especially for missing. from the people of Maui, hoping this story goes by the wayside and their grip of power becomes less threatened. Nick is an independent reporter. Now, he was on Steve Bannon. Before I say anything about this, I want you to watch it first, and then I'll read you what another thing that Nick Sorter said, who is an independent reporter. Watch this and tell me if this does not send chills up your spine.
This is crazy world we live in, and don't make anyone surprised what happens on Steve Bannon's War Room show on Saturday. The journalist Nick Sorter was doing a live report from Maui, Hawaii, when a crazy dude who seemed like a mega leftist confronted him. Nick Sorter has been looking into the wildfires in Maui, Hawaii. He's digging into claims that tech billionaires and celebs might have started those fires to grab land from the local Hawaiians. You gotta see this video for yourself.
Hey, what's up, Nick? I've been trying to reach you. Been reaching out to you on X. We're supposed to be meeting with people here. What victims have you had?
Okay, yeah. So this is so you're seeing this live right now. People actually tracked me down.
And you were staying in a tent. You said you were coming and staying in a tent, Nick. You're taking up resources.
I'm not taking up any resources here.
Something stinks, right? That leftist blaming Nick that he is trying to grab resources. Well, I think it's the other way around. Even when they try to, keep things under wraps, we have a way of finding out the truth. But man, we gotta do something about this. We have to fix this.
Operative? Maybe? Underground dumbs? Was this guy raised by the CIA? What the freak is this wacko, crazy, kind of out of it, hypnotized, the Montauk Project from Stranger Things? Is this MK Ultra? Has this guy been raised by the MK Ultra mind control program? Was he raised in a dumb?
Those who have been searching for clues about what happened to their loved ones are frustrated with the lack of answers from officials.
Yeah, Bridget, a lot of family members flew to Maui searching for answers and for their loved ones. And now many of them are leaving with more questions and with heartache.
There are hundreds of families who don't know what's going on. They're unable to come here. They're getting bits and pieces of information, and there needs to be a hub they can go to have their questions answered.
Okay, so we've come to the video where there is a trigger warning. And I don't like to use the term trigger warning because we're adults. And even if we weren't adults and we're young people, even maybe teenagers, should be learning more about the real world and not being sheltered as much as they are today. But that's my opinion. Anyway, just be warned. This is about buses. And it's footage, and you need to read. And if you can't figure it out at first, then rewind it, read it again. And it might take you 2 or 3 times. There's no audio. There's no one speaking. There is some weird music or weird sounds. But anyway, you've been forewarned. Maybe it's the You've been forewarned, and here we go. So it's not rocket science, folks. If there wasn't any school the day of the fire, wouldn't all the buses be accounted for? Wouldn't they all be lined up like you saw in the satellite or on the MapQuest? Wouldn't they be there since there was no school?
Maui's rental car companies are working to ship out part of their inventory as tourists have fled the Valley Isle.
Thousands of cars are still parked at the Kahului Airport, and many say it reminds them of the pandemic.
At Kahului Airport and the surrounding fields, it's a sign that Maui's economic engine is at a standstill and appears like a repeat of the COVID pandemic.
They're two separate lots, and they're both full of empty cars, and yeah, it's just surreal. Yeah.
And from an airplane window, the massive scale of devastation from the Lahaina wildfire comes into full view. There are 7 rental car companies at Kahului Airport. The Maui District Airport Manager says there are 21,000 rental cars. 3,000 are currently rented, leaving 18,000 cars to sit idle.
Okay, so there's no sound to this video. Could this video prove that we're being lied to about the children? Were the children sent home from school the day of the fire? Could this video prove that we are being lied to? There's no one talking. There's no sound. But here it is.
After 2 weeks traveling to 7 countries, ministering and meeting with global government and faith leaders from Hawaii to Samoa, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and Tonga, President Russell M. Nelson of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints concluded his Pacific ministry.
Now here's a warning for you.
Et maintenant un avertissement pour vous.
There's trouble ahead.
Des jours difficiles vous attendent.
Prepare for attacks from the adversary. So the Lord has asked me to let you know tonight that we have a solemn duty to prepare our people for the difficult days that lie ahead. Paul offered these wonderful words of advice. He said that all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution. Please protect your families from the deception that you will see in the future. We bless you to feast upon the words of the Lord Jesus Christ.
And this is what the people mean when they see Oprah and these other celebrities like The Rock. They have the power, they have the means to help these people keep their homes. They're being forced into bankruptcy. They're losing everything. And we're doing this petty. Well, she sees how much money's coming in. Wouldn't you think that within the last 48 hours, her and The Rock would be coming out and going, you know what? We've heard your voices. This was a bad idea. Let's change the plan. We're going to come in and really help these people. Because that obviously is not the plan. Here's the independent reporter, Nick Sorter again. Hey, FEMA. How about all the people on Maui that are about to be forced into eviction and bankruptcy because you're rejecting the vast majority of residents' claims? That $700 is a freaking insult to the people of Maui, to the people of Maui. That might be a typo. He's got some energy though. Even your own employees know this is a freaking joke. Everybody in the world knows that's a joke. I mean, look at our inflation has tripled within the last 8 months. $700. Okay. Get it together. The great people of Maui can't handle the suffering much longer.
Name me one major issue that we've set our mind on solving we haven't been able to do.
So apparently he goes to Florida on his trip that I guess he's pretty busy. So he says he's making the rounds. He's got an agenda. He's got an itinerary. So Joe Biden's got an itinerary, right? President Biden. He goes to Florida to check out Hurricane Idalia. And he gets questions from reporters of why he hasn't gone to East Palestine yet.
You said in March that you would go to East Palestine, Ohio. You came here. How come you haven't gone to East Palestine yet?
Well, I haven't had the occasion to go to East Palestine. There's a lot going on here, and I just haven't been able to break. I was thinking whether I'd go to East Palestine this week, but I then was reminded I've got to go literally around the world. I'm going from Washington to India to Vietnam and so it's going to be a while. But we're making sure that East Palestine has what they need materially in order to deal with their problems.
Put your discernment cap on, and I don't mean that lightly, okay? But put it on and tell me how you feel, what your feelings tell you about McCarthy. He's been saying things about Lahaina, about Maui, lightly, kind of like Ron DeSantis has in the shadows. Do you take him seriously? I can't. I don't know why, but I can't.
There's disasters and they're going to continue to be disasters. I think we could better prepare where a disaster doesn't happen.
And McCarthy also made a little trip to Hawaii over the holiday weekend, visiting the wildfire-devastated communities of Maui. While there, he vowed the people of Hawaii would get the truth on what started the fire, why it grew out of control, why residents weren't notified faster, and what can be done in the future to prevent this type of devastation from ever happening again.
Do you trust the federal government to help seeing what happened in Hawaii just a few weeks ago in East Palestine a few months ago?
Look, I think the Maui is a total catastrophe, what happened there. And I don't think we have all the answers to that. I think we should have all the answers to that. It's interesting how incurious our corporate media is about what happened in Maui. I mean, I don't see them interviewing parents who can't find their kids, but we know there's a lot of people missing. So that was a total disaster, really, really heartbreaking to hear some of the stories, even though they're not being publicized.
I'm exhausted. It's been a long month, actually, and it's gone by like that. I'm going to leave you with this.
Great stories how the Lord picks people, puts them in the right place, and gives them the circumstances necessary for them to serve. We have this in the life of J. Reuben Clark. Now, as he got to be practically the Secretary of State, it was amazing how all the solicitors, who are the lawyers for the State Department, kept going away or being gone, and this J. Reuben Clark find himself counseling with the President as though he were Secretary of State. And at the end of 6 years, there was a change in politics. President Wilson was elected, the Republicans went out, and J. Reuben Clark went out with them. Now, he then went into private practice. He was very, very successful. He had a great reputation by now. But he didn't know that he was just about to run head-on into one of the most monstrous forces of evil that was being gestated or generated in the United States at that time. Now, in order to tell you that story, which is out of this other book, The History of the World in Our Time, I just have to quote a couple of things. In what we call a people's republic, you do not find tranquility. Everybody has his rights. Everybody is free to speak his opinion, and they all do. And you just have a turmoil of constant bubbling and burling, and everybody's got their ideas solving problems. It isn't an atmosphere of tranquility. It isn't Shangri-La. But when you've educated people, as they did in the early part of the history of this country, they loved it that way. They come out of Europe where they were under somebody's thumb and heel all the time, and they loved it here where they could speak their opinions and then vote the way they wanted to, etc. There was one group of people that never liked it. They didn't like the Constitution. They didn't like the turmoil. They didn't like this kind of a republic. You see, this bubbling and burbling and so forth, and everybody putting in their 2 bits worth, etc., that produced Washingtons. That produced Jeffersons, John Adamses. I mean, if you'd been at the Constitutional Convention, it wasn't a nice, sweet, peaceful convention. Those great men with strong opinions hammered and hammered, but when they got through, God says, I established this Constitution by the hands of wise men that I raised up for this very purpose. And anything that's more or less than this is evil. Section 98 and Section 101. And it all came out of this burbling and gurgling. You got to have fun with it. You got to get used to it. But these people who are very rich and very powerful have always hated it. The reason they hate it is because they operate big industries where they speak and things happen, where there's a certain amount of order. If there isn't, they can change it. It's like that. And he said, no, that's the way our society should. That's the way government should be. We've got to change this thing so we've got the smartest people in charge and compel these stupid masses to do what's good for them. In 1908, there was a congregation of these very wealthy people. They represented the greatest powers in the railroad, in the oil industry, the banking industry, the commercial industry, and they were congregated together in the Carnegie Foundation for International Peace. And they tried to decide how you could change the whole American system, peacefully if possible, but if necessary, do it with war. Now, they worked on that for a year. In time of war, the people will tolerate a collectivization of control and a mandate, and people do what they're told to do. They said, now that should be set up so that it's the permanent pattern of our society. And they decided that they'd have to do it through war. You've got to get a war, get them in that mood where they will tolerate the centralized dictatorial mandate and authority, and then have another war if necessary until it becomes a pattern. That's what those men decided to do. The next question was, how would we get control of the government under those circumstances and then maintain it? And the answer was, you've got to control the State Department and the presidency. That's what they agreed upon. We have the minutes of those meetings. And the man who secured them almost accidentally, a good friend of mine, working for one of the congressional committees, they got the minutes of 1908 when it was resolved that we're going to use war from now on until we get this nation under control. So they've got to get their own man for president. Then they've got to have him appoint a Secretary of State that's of their vintage or mentality. Remember, this is the Carnegie Foundation for International Peace plotting war. Any of you heard of this before? Yeah, some of you have. I didn't get it in school. I had to dig it out years later when I found out that something had gone wrong. Now, the man they picked out to be their president, to run in the other party, the Republicans were in power, was a man by the name of Woodrow Wilson. He was the head of the Department of Political Science at Princeton, and he'd been very critical of the Constitution for a variety of reasons. He liked the British system better, so they thought that there's somebody we could probably mold and weave into what we need. And so they started working on him, and they got him to be governor of New Jersey, and they elected him. And this is the book that tells how they did it.
And it goes on, and that is the age-old story. Just different movers and shakers, different players, the same mindset, the same egos. And what they don't realize, though, is there's going to be a different outcome.